Many of my story ideas come from the most random of places. I could be walking in a park somewhere or riding a train and I see something and think, that's pretty interesting. I try to write down these ideas before they run away from me and over time turn them into drawings or paintings that I could maybe turn into picture books. Hi, my name is Priscilla Tey. I'm an illustrator and I make picture books. I like making picture books because it's both really fun but also really hard to do at the same time. It's fun because I get to tell stories and create characters and the worlds they live in, and I get to present these stories in the form of pictures that I paint and draw, which is what I really like to do. I grew up in Singapore, which is where I live and work from now. Singapore is a very diverse and dense city, and there's always a lot of vibrant images and patterns and colors to draw ideas from because of all the different cultures that make up a part of this place. Everything in Singapore is sort of a fusion of all these different things. So it's always a little bit of this with a little bit of that. In Between Things is a book about a cat and a dog that venture around a house and explore all the different types of in-betweens that they can find. From very tangible, physical in-between things to more intangible in-between things like warmth and dim lighting. It also looks at in-between things that are combinations of one thing and another, things that are a mix of this and that. I tend to like to draw a lot of images that have a lot of detail in them. I like to pack in different patterns and play around with different whimsical shapes to give my places and characters a little bit more personality and character. I guess I take most of my inspiration from the objects that are around me, from plants to vessels to interesting knickknacks that I've collected through the years, especially ones that have very interesting shapes to them. The wall of my studio corner is also decorated with lots of images that I've pulled from calendars, from magazines, from postcards, and even restaurant menus. These images not only add color to my studio corner, but also remind me of the different kinds of images that are out there and the kind of pictures that I hope to create. When I'm working on a new project, I also tack up a lot of images and sketches that I've done as part of my research. I tend to work across different mediums because I like to play around with the different textures that they can give me. Gouache paint is a material that I work a lot with because it is a nice in-between of acrylic and watercolor paint. So I can water it down and use it in a very fluid way, or I can use very little water and apply it on very thickly, which is great for very, very fine details. Often I would take the painted image and scan it into the computer where I add even more textures and line work on top of it. The resulting image is always sort of a fusion between many different mediums, and I never quite know what to expect, which is kind of the fun of it. Twitchy, Witchy, Itch is a story about a witch who tries really hard to hide certain parts of herself that are really unique to her. It's all set in the context of an afternoon tea session that she has with two other witchy neighbors, and she really wants to make an impression, and so she goes on this massive rampage to clear out her house and really present to them her home, but in the most perfect way possible. Naturally, when they arrive in the house, things don't quite go as planned and chaos ensues. This book really plays around a lot with the different kind of visuals that I can use to distort an image, but also act as symbols for all the different quirks that are very much a part of each of us. Part of the fun of making a picture book is the planning that actually goes in it. when you have a story, you have to figure out how your characters are going to look like. How does the world they live in look like? In the case of Twitchy Witchy Itch, the character of Itch always reminded me of Elizabeth Montgomery's character in the Bewitched series, which I grew up watching a lot of. She had this quirky, bubbly personality and always seemed to be fixing things. The design of Itch is mostly based off of circles and semicircles. Fidget, on the other hand, has a lot of triangles in her, and Glitch is mostly very square. Giving each character a specific shape just helped with the overall clarity of the book. Being a witch, Itch was definitely going to be doing some magic and performing some spells, which eventually took the shape and form of these magical swirls. I really wanted her home to feel very much like an extension of her, so I found ways to try to incorporate these swirls into the furnishings and the general design of her living space. Thumbnailing them becomes a very important way to figure out how each page is going to be composed and how the reader gets through the story from one page turn to the next. I always hope to write and illustrate picture books that helps readers see and notice things around them in a very different way. If they leave a picture book wondering more about the things around them, with more questions in their head, I feel really satisfied. I love making picture books and it makes me really, really happy.